ahead and get started with our agenda. The first item we have is the select board. And here we've listed, sorry? Can you hear me all right? Okay. We wanted to talk about submitting again the current mission statement, as well as the drafted mission statement where we made some changes. Both of these documents were included in the 14-page report. And I wanted to suggest that we look at that exam again and then decide whether we're going to submit it to the select board for their meeting, which is next Monday, the 11th of April. So your thoughts? There are no thoughts? I have one suggestion, and that is that in our report, we did list the definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to resubmit that to the select board, I think we have to include those definitions again so that they can think about the framework that they're looking at their mission statement. What are your thoughts?
So let's just clarify. And again, because I'm still relatively new to how all this works, and we talked about how you have to be on the agenda, but then sometimes it's a agenda item where it's just the select board speaking, and sometimes it's an agenda item where the committee is presenting. So Nick, you can answer this question. What is the item going to be on the April 11th agenda? Is it something that the committee can speak during, or is it just the select board? Or what are we thinking for that?
Well, I mean, I guess I can ask a question with a question and just say, do members of this committee want to speak at the 11th meeting? Or do we want to just, I mean, because the select board has this, and this is a part of the backup that I'm putting together for the 11th. And I wanted to make sure that coming out of this meeting, if there were any changes, I could supply that to the office before finalizing anything. So I mean, either I can play liaison as I did last time, and the select board can have their conversation. If you feel that there's additional information that's warranted to provide, then we can have that conversation now, and I can make a request an adjustment to the agenda.
Okay, so this is what I'm envisioning, that well, you already have a copy of the mission statement, but whether we change it or not, it will be in the backup. And so as liaison, you'll propose to vote aye or nay on accepting that, or if there needs to be changes, you guys can discuss that then. Is that what
Yeah,
we're
so
looking at?
Yeah, so part of the item will be that we're looking for an approval on this updated, section to the mission statement.
Okay.
It'll open discussion, and then depending on how discussion goes, it may either be continued or it may just be, voted on or amended and voted on. It could go a couple ways.
Okay,
There
and
would
then
be some, I'm sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
just one other part to clarify. Even if we're not specifically on the agenda to speak, will you allow comment? Because I know last time I had to kind of sneak that in there. So that was my other question.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that there would be a lot of value and symbolism in having at least a brief discussion, and for one or more of us to, as BJ was alluding to, kind of frame, these are the definitions we're working from. This is sort of why. And I think that even just the shortest discussion would go a long way in making clear to the board and making clear to anyone watching some of the reasons why we're doing this work. And so my hope is that there is, even if it's short, at least a conversation and a dialogue that so far we have been lacking between us and the select board. I know that the select board meetings are pretty precise in the amount of time that is given to each agenda item. Or do we have I don't know, is 5 minutes the regular amount of time, Nick, for this type of thing? Is that what we have, or is it more open-ended?
It's somewhat open-ended. You know, we try
Okay.
to put times to things to maintain some semblance of movement to the meeting.
Right.
You know, it's not, to my knowledge, it's not required that times be put on there, but we do it for the sake of, again, trying to keep things moving somewhat efficiently.
Sure.
You know, I guess, you know, where this is all new territory, right? Like, you know, typically in government, you know, there's not as much open dialogue conversation between committees and boards. Um, so are are we looking to represent the definitions? Do you guys just want me to do that in the open discussion? And I'm not trying to disparage either way. I'm just trying to get a sense of how we want this to run, because this is new territory for me too.
I think that, I mean, that would be fine if, Nick, you said, at least from my perspective, here are the definitions that we're working from, and then maybe one of us can say, just speak for a minute or so about why we want to have the mission statement updated. Just, I don't know, maybe it would begin a short conversation. If they have questions, I think that is a good opportunity to answer those questions, to have the conversation, to establish, hopefully, an ongoing conversation between our work and the select board.
Yeah, for sure. And just so that this is a tangential thing, but I know Nancy was a part of some conversations on over the weekend. I am actively trying to figure out how, you know, for lack of a better term, we'll call it a special meeting, but how an additional larger conversation can continue and persist. We're trying to figure out, like, from a governmental standpoint, like what makes the most sense functionally, right? Because if it's meant to be an inclusive conversation, then, you know, an actual meeting where it's stuck within Robert's Rules of Orders and, you know, there's a certain set agenda, it's not going to facilitate a conversation. So we're trying to figure that out. But yeah, I can say that we're anticipating having. I mean, I don't know if everybody can make it on the 11th or who'd like to come. Um, but definitely, you know, come and you know, I'll recognize, you know, whoever's there, and we can hopefully help facilitate some conversation that way.
I'd like to suggest that we consider voting on adding the definitions of diversity, equity, and inclusion to the two documents that we already have selected, the current mission statement and the draft mission statement, so that those are the three items that we're presenting to the select board.
So the three items would be the current mission statement, the updated mission statement, and the definitions.
Yes, but definitions first and then current statement and the draft statement.
Sure.
So
Okay.
all of that was included in the report.
They
So
were in the report.
so
Yes.
assuming that no updates come out of the draft version of this tonight, then that's what we can reference. And that's what I'll include in the backup.
What I would like to do is to vote that that's what we're going to do, and then I will send you a statement tomorrow that has those 3 items for the select board?
I guess, I think, Nick, what you're asking is if we have already submitted the report, then do we really need to submit these 3 documents again? I think that's what you're trying to ask, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So this committee already voted on the report, right? So everything in the
Yep.
report, a vote was taken on that as a committee we agreed on. So what I'm saying is unless something changes in this draft submittal tonight, then that's what will be put in the backup, and I'll highlight those areas for focus. And if something changes in the draft, then we'll vote on that tonight and then resubmit it.
As a suggestion, is it possible, for the purposes of what we want to do on Monday, to take just those sections and include them separately, and instead of the entire report? I know maybe, I don't know if, I don't want to choose my words carefully, but perhaps some of the board members found the report overwhelming, and if we want to have the conversation, just for clarity's sake, we can include just these 3 items.
That's my suggestion, yes.
Okay. So when I prepare the backup, I can pull those out, but no additional votes necessary to do that.
Rather than give them another pulled out pages, I'd like one report that has those 3 items without anything else for them to understand, digest, and try and go through that as well. I think it's easier for the select board if they only get those 3 items.
Sure. Not a problem.
So BJ, you said something about a statement. Does that mean you would like to just submit a separate document with those 3 items and a few words? Is that?
That's correct.
So is that statement already prepared for this committee to discuss?
Yes.
Was that on our agenda for tonight?
No, but it's 3 pages that I can send you tonight with those 3 items.
But we can't discuss it via email.
It's the same thing that was in the report, but it's just those 3 items.
Oh, okay. So but Nancy had asked if you were including an additional statement as well, and you said yes.
No, I'm just giving the definition, the current mission statement, and the draft mission statement. Those are the 3 items.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, I was happy to pull those, but if you already have it prepared, that's fine too.
Okay, I think we're all on the same page now.
So I'd like to vote that we will add the definitions to the items.
That's what I'm saying, BJ. We don't have to vote on that. We've already approved everything that was in the report, so all you're doing is pulling information out.
All right, Nick.
Okay, I think the other part of this is, and to what Carl was suggesting, do any of us or one of us want to just go over that real quick or just say a couple words with regards to those items? Or do we just do, they have it, they can vote on it, and that's good?
I mean, it might be a good opportunity for us to level set and, get a chance to explain our thinking up front before the discussion takes place. So, I mean, if folks want to open it up, I think that'd be good.
Well, based on your conversation, I thought you were going to present to the select board, Nick.
I am, but if folks want to add to that, I'm more than happy to make that a part of it. That was kind of the part, point of this discussion, I thought.
Yeah, Nick might kind of do an intro. Here's maybe read them, and then one of us can speak a little bit longer on the process we went through, and encourage the board in some way to adopt the updated mission statement. This is my suggestion.
Yeah, I think that's great, Carl. I think it's important to talk about what it was versus what it is, and how we got there and why we're there, right? Because that's what we're asking them to vote on, is that change.
Yep, I agree. We should do something like that because to help them understand why we are just proposing their change and the thinking behind it and so on and so forth. It should help them know the whys.
Any further discussion on item 1?
Did we want to leave the quotes around soul and mixed, or were we going to remove those? I'm asking because I sincerely don't remember.
The correction still has the word soul in it. Create a sense of community within the town to develop the soul of the community while recognizing the mixed, diverse nature of the community. That's the statement was there, and it carried forward.
My immediate reaction is soul. The quotes around soul are fine. The quotes around mixed, I stick on that.
Yeah. I actually wonder if we just lose mixed altogether, because mixed diverse feels a bit redundant.
Yeah, that was a weird phrasing, whoever wrote that. So I thought we wanted to remove that.
I'll change the draft statement to remove mixed.
All right, so for the sake of formalities, that's something we should take a vote on. So I'm going to make the motion that we remove mixed in its entirety from the draft proposal.
Second. All those in favor, please vote by name.
Sayed Ghani, yes.
Nancy, yes.
Carl, yes.
Nick, yes.
BJ, yes.
Um,
5 approved.
I want to go back to if we speak on Monday, who would like to speak and do they have something specific they would like to say, or do we want to agree on whatever specifically we are going to say?
Yeah, so if I'm going to, read through the definitions and the change, I'd love for somebody to talk about the, what it was and the effort to get it to change. I think that'd be a great launching off point for the discussion. If there's anything else that we want to add, by all means, I'm just tossing out my 2 cents.
Saeed, would you be interested in speaking?
I'm fine in speaking. As long as there are no objections to my speaking, I guess.
I
No
just think
objection, just encouragement.
yeah, I was thinking it would be nice if like different members of the committee speak, and show their, so they know who we are. So not trying to like pressure you if you don't want to. It's just an idea.
Like I said, I'm fine in speaking.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
Do we want more than one of us to speak? Or do you think one is sufficient? And is there enough time?
Does it warrant more than one?
I don't think we need to, especially
Okay.
if it's a brief conversation. And I'm assuming this isn't going to be controversial, this change, but I don't know. Hopefully I'm not wrong.
We'll find out on Monday.
The second item we have is the meeting that's on the 11th. I just want to confirm that everybody plans to participate, or will you be coming on through the computer?
I'm happy to go in person.
If needed, I can come in person. it's easier for me to do it remotely, but I can definitely be in person. I'd probably just leave after that agenda item.
I'm looking at their agenda to see what time we'll be speaking, or we are on the agenda, because I would need to be. So their agenda isn't up there yet. Okay, so I have a hard stop at 7 p.m. regardless of the mode through which I'll join the call.
I will attend.
So yeah, I'll try and take a look at the agenda tomorrow as it's being approved and see where it sits.
Okay, thank you.
Third item we have on the agenda is to meet with Joanne Faust to identify 11 Burlington executive branch leaders. I have a list or a organizational chart that Sherry provided, and there are 11 people who are named by title of the position, but not their name. And we are trying to identify who they are by name so that we can invite them to the next meeting that the DEI is going to have, so that we can talk about language that's in union contracts, and they may want to attend. They may also want to engage whoever is participating in the contract discussion as well. But first we have to identify them. And so that's why we wanted to invite Joanne to come to our next meeting.
Question, sorry, BJ, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do we have to invite Joanne for this information, or can this be, or I'm going to ask you, Nick, would we run afoul of OML if we were to ask for this information via email?
No, I don't think this would break OML. But if we want to go through the list right now, I could probably give the names right now.
I can give you the list if you want to discuss it now.
Yeah, I was trying to I had it up and I lost it. I don't know where the heck it went on my screen.
This is the executive branch Board of Assessors.
Okay, so is our goal to invite other boards to this?
This is all I have on the list. There are 11 people. That are part of the executive branch. And it just says Board of Assessors, Board of Health, Recreation, Constables, Housing Authority, Board of Selectmen, Shawsheen Tech School Committee, School Committee, Town Clerk, Planning Board, Library Trustees.
Right, and this goes back to the conversation we had the last meeting, which was what was the best way for us to tackle this? Because if we invite even just one board member from all of those boards, some of which, like for example, school committee is completely aside and doing their own thing right now. I think we're tackling this in a broad spectrum way, as opposed to being more focused by speaking with the town administrator, the assistant town administrator, HR, and town clerk even, and trying to pinpoint from that perspective where negotiations stand and what language we want to include. And even at that point, I would say a conversation with HR, town administrator, and town council would be a much more focused and productive conversation that might result in actual language being produced within a timely manner rather than trying to wrangle all of these boards and committees together. And that's what I was trying to say at our last meeting.
All I have is the list.
I understand you have the list. I'm referring to our conversation that we had 2 weeks ago. I mean, I could play roundabout. I could give you the everyone's names, and I'm happy to do that. But some of those people even have nothing to do with contract negotiations. So we can burn 2 months and wind up square in June with no language prepared, no time to introduce into the negotiations. Or we can have a more focused conversation with a more tight select group of people and try and get something done.
So Nick, based on what you're saying, that the better stakeholders for a timely discussion on proposed changes would be the town administrator, the HR, head of HR, for lack of a better phrase, and then you mentioned a third title or name.
Yeah, town council.
Town council, yes.
Just so, I mean, just get legal involved up front and say, like what's been done in the state that might already be improved, included in other contracts. Because again, if we can just get language that we can review and consider revisions on, and then get that on the negotiation table. I mean, we're already
sooner rather than later. Yep, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a fast track approach to me, instead of going through the different boards.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then whatever we come up with after speaking with HR, town admin, and town council, that can be disseminated to the boards. Is that your thinking? That makes sense for us to do, and then versus having them at the beginning of conversation, because not all of them are even involved in the contract stuff.
Right.
Okay.
So it's Joanne for HR. You said town clerk or town administrator. Which do you mean?
So I think we should stick with town administrator Paul Sagarino.
Spell his last name.
Sagarino. Yeah.
And town council.
Yeah, so looping Paul and Joanne into the conversation and saying that we also want to loop town council in the conversation, because town council is contracted. There's no one specific that we would reach out to. We would just ask that they attend the meeting, and then they would send whoever's available.
So we have a law firm on retainer then, right, Nick? And they assign somebody. It's not one person who's assigned the town of Burlington contract.
Correct. In my 3 years thus far, there have been 2 people that I've worked with.
Okay.
Who do we contact to get to town council so that they can select who? I mean,
so essentially, BJ, we'd be asking you and I as chair and vice chair to sit down with Paul and Joanne and someone from town council to discuss DEI related language in the union contracts.
But we don't know the name of that person for town council.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have to. Paul will notify town council and ask them to come to the meeting.
Okay.
And again, for the sake of edification, I'm happy to give everyone those names as they currently stand, for the larger organization chart. But in terms of, having a more productive conversation.
What I would like to do would be to extend an invitation for them to come to our next meeting, which is April 20th for the three of them to attend.
So BJ, if you're open to it, because this wouldn't require the entire committee to attend, you and I can attend offline with them in a meeting, and that way before the 20th, we can hopefully have something to present back to this committee.
Okay. Does that mean that we would host a meeting through the computer, or do we meet face to face?
I think it's whatever folks are comfortable with, and availability and all that stuff that we can kind of iron that out as we go.
Okay.
Nick, just to clarify, did you propose that you and VJ meet with Paul, Joanne, and town council, and not
Yes.
the whole committee?
Yeah, so basically treat it like a subcommittee, and that way we can, hopefully have something for the 20th to come back to the rest of the committee with.
Okay.
Dad.
I'm on a call, but what is it? I see.
Next item on the agenda are the minutes. Carl?
I sent you all the minutes from 3/23. Did anyone notice any corrections that need to be made?
I didn't notice. I sent you a response, Carl. I didn't notice any changes.
Yes, thank you. If nothing, then I move that we approve the minutes from 3/23/22.
Say Ghani second.
All in favor, please vote by name.
Nancy, yes.
Say Ghani, yes.
Carl, yes.
Nick, yes.
BJ, yes. All five in favor.
Thank you all.
I'll touch.
Are there other items that we wish to address?
So just under because we have next DEI committee meeting on the 20th. On May 4th, I have a conflict with the transportation committee, so I know that is technically 2 weeks from the 20th. So depending on how things are netting out, if folks are comfortable either having a meeting on the 27th of April or the week after the 4th, I think that would be the 12th of April. Just want to call it out now before we get too close to the date.
Oh, yeah, I actually just realized the 20th is during April vacation for school. So I actually won't be in town. I can still join remotely if we want to keep that date.
Do we want to then just move our 20th meeting to the 27th? Or do we want, I'm just putting it out there.
I'm good either way. I know that's not very helpful.
I would prefer the 27th if possible, but like I said, if needed, I can join remotely. We do it remotely anyways for our DEI committee meetings.
But if we do move it to the 27th, then 2 weeks out, there would not be a conflict for you, Nick. Is that correct?
Correct.
Let's go with the 27th then.
Great, thanks.
Next meeting is the 27th of April. And then following that, it would be the 11th of May, which does not conflict with your schedule, Nick.
Yes. And thank you.
Other items to discuss?
I don't know if we want to talk about this briefly here. Nick alluded to at the beginning of the meeting about the special session. Basically, one, what format do we envision? And second, what time frame? Like, when do we want to get that scheduled? But the first question is, what are we looking at? Are we looking at something between our two committees, or are we looking at a wider town conversation, which in that case, I don't think it's as urgent. It might actually be something that, be useful in terms of advancing DEI in the town overall, but not necessarily a urgent action item on our part.
Yeah. So, I know Nancy, we kind of chatted about this over the weekend. So if we, like I was saying earlier, if we do a special meeting, and I know this is not on the agenda, so we technically shouldn't be talking about it, but we can take a minute. If it's a special meeting, if it's an actual meeting, even if it's a joint meeting, it's supposed to follow Robert's Rules of Orders and have an agenda and be set. I think that would be more helpful for a working session, right? If we were trying to workshop stuff with the board. If we were looking to have a conversation, then something more along the lines of a town hall would be more productive, because then we would not be tied to Robert's Rules of Orders. We wouldn't have to have a set agenda specifically. It would allow for more conversation. So I think both might be good to do. But in terms of actual stuff, maybe we want to consider a special meeting at some point in May, trying to figure out how to work in and around town meeting, and do something like that. And, then essentially the other items that we'd be workshopping beyond the contract negotiations, with the scorecard and, everything else, we could kind of do a open workshopping session with the select board. And I can, because this is an item that I'm going to put on to discuss on Monday as well, what the board's thoughts are. So, yeah.
I would like to suggest that we consider an opportunity to work with this committee on issues such as what are the values that are important to us. And then once we engage in that exercise and have a conversation, then we can approach the select board and have a conversation with them. But I think it's important for us to have our focus on what are we considering our values, because your values control your behavior. And if we approve of it, then that's what we present to the select board as an educational process for them as well.
And you're referring to the latter half of the report, yes?
I think it's an opportunity for all of us to learn what we think and to engage in conversation with the select board about what they think and to help them participate in the process.
So who would be running that workshop with the select board?
I am prepared to do that with this committee and with the select board, but I would like for this committee to engage first.
Would we do that during one of our meetings, or would that need to be something separate?
It's our choice. We can do it as part of a meeting. I can send you an exercise to do, and then we can have part of our discussion focus on the results from that to engage in conversation, or we could have it separate. And it's the 5 of us that would do it, and then decide on the steps after that.
So is there a reason that we wouldn't just do it together jointly with the select board?
I think it's important for us to learn it first, and it would help us to then engage the select board in their participation. If we do it collectively, it's 10 people to exercise through the same experience.
Right, but if we're workshopping together in a more collaborative way, wouldn't that result in more discussion around our values together, and then hopefully provide more understanding of each other as we are as people?
If you
As
prefer
opposed
to do it
to,
that way, we can do it.
I'm just saying, if we do it us first, then we walk in and say, okay, we did this exercise and now we're gonna, make you do it. It doesn't seem as collaborative.
Whatever your choice is, it's okay.
I'm just asking.
BJ, just a clarifying question, is it easier to do it with smaller numbers, or is it work differently with, like, it would either be 5 of us or 9 of us, right? Because Nick's on both. I see, I mean, I see both sides, right? You want us to have an understanding of the process before we bring it to the select board, but Nick's point is well taken also, that if we want to foster that sense of collaboration, it would, I feel, be worthwhile to do it together with the select board as well.
Okay, we can do it together.
PJ, I'm going to ask the same question as Carl asked in a different way. From a best practices perspective, from your point of view, what's the best thing to do here of the two choices?
I'm okay with either way. We can do it as the DEI committee, or we can do it jointly with the select board.
Okay, so from a best practices perspective, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no.
Okay.
But I think both of us should have the exercise to engage in the conversation.
Then let's do it together.
And when is your preference that we begin this? We're in April.
Well, if we're gonna, open discussions, I shouldn't say open discussions, if we're gonna continue discussion with the select board on the 11th, and this is a part of it to discuss when that special meeting is gonna be, then we'll see what nets out of that meeting and then go from there.
That'll be fine.
Speaking of the meeting on the 11th, so we don't know right now what time slot will be given, right, Nick? Because the agenda isn't set. If it happens to be after 7, then like I said, I won't be able to speak because of my hard stop because of Ramadan. Who will be my backup, or who can be the backup?
We'll
I'm
notify you.
I'm sorry?
I said we would notify you. We'll participate in the meeting, and if you are not with us, as soon as we establish the date, we will be in touch with you.
I'm confused. I'm referring to the select board meeting on the 11th.
Right. So Saeed, what I'll do is I'll figure out tomorrow when it's being placed. And if
Yep.
it's being placed either precariously close to 7 p.m. or after, I'll see if we can't move it up sooner in the agenda. And if for some reason we can't, then I'll let you know, and then somebody can volunteer themselves.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to do it also.
Okay. So Carl is our pinch hitter.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Any other items for discussion?
I just want to throw this out there. I may be traveling at the end of April. It's up in the air. It's not confirmed yet. So I just want everybody to be aware of that.
So Saeed, take a moment and educate me. Is it incorrect or wrong to say Happy Ramadan?
It's not incorrect. The I guess the better greeting is Ramadan Mubarak. In other words, have a blessed Ramadan. So, but thank you.
May I ask, I was also told Ramadan Kareem, is that
Yes,
also
that's
appropriate?
another one. Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's another one.
Well, have a blessed Ramadan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a blessed Ramadan, Saeed.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. If any of you ever wish to come and break fast, or have or have a meal with us, come down to the Islamic Center. We have we break our fast every single day in Ramadan together. So they're like any given day you've got like anywhere from 300 to 500 people in the center.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's great.
Yeah. It
And
it,
that's
it gives you a sense of community and you know togetherness. That's one thing that I really love about Ramadan.
and that's open to everyone,
Yeah,
regardless of faith.
yeah, you can come in. Yes,
Oh, that's
everybody's welcome.
awesome. Thanks for letting us know
That's
and
wonderful.
inviting us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know if you're planning to come. That way I'll be there to meet you and greet you. Otherwise, you'll be lost in the crowd.
Thank you. Any other items?
Just a motion to adjourn.
Motion
And-
to adjourn.
In a second.
Sayyid Ghani, yes, in favor.
Nancy, yes.
Carl, yes.
Nick, yes.
DJ, yes. All in favor. Done. Thank you.
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.